Roberts with a reminder that we will pay tribute to Carol Spinney, the actor who played Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street, later on in this hour. We'll be able to stay tuned for that.
Hi, this is Eileen Graff, and you are listening to TV Confidential.
Roberts with welcoming you back to TV Confidential Radio Talk Show about television. They'll shift gears for the next few minutes as we welcome Dr. Uli Chettipally. Dr. Chettipally is a recently retired emergency physician who has shifted his focus of late to consulting and speaking. He is also co-founder of IGS, the Innovators Global Summit, a 2-day event coming up in San Francisco the second week of January that will showcase the work of physician innovators all over the world who are doing their part to affect change in healthcare. We will tell you more about the upcoming Innovators Global Summit in just a second. But first, Dr. Chettipally, welcome to TV Confidential.
Thank you very much for having me on the show, Ed.
This is a very important topic that affects all of our listeners in many different ways. What led you to start IGS?
Well, I have, 27 years of experience in healthcare as an emergency physician. In the last 10 years of it as a researcher in emergency medicine and healthcare in general. What led me to believe was that there are pockets of innovation happening everywhere. And as you can imagine, physicians are at the face of delivering healthcare. They come up with innovative solutions to the problems that are facing every day. But those solutions don't get publicized, or they don't have a platform where they can go and broadcast those innovations so that other people can follow them. And so what I thought was, IGS 2020 would be a good platform to bring all these innovations to the forefront so that people can see it and understand it and maybe implement them in their own practices and in their own health system. That was the motivation.
Why do you think physician innovators aren't getting the sort of attention they deserve? Is it because research, the legwork, the man hours, the person hours you got to put in to doing research to lead to innovation? Is it because research in itself is not sexy and that's why they're not getting attention?
Well, the first thing is that, a physician, who is actually practicing medicine will have a lot of demands on their time. So they are working hard, seeing a lot of patients, and then they don't have the time to actually come up and spread the creative ideas that they have. And those of us who have those ideas and who are working, they are working extra, which is they're spending their own time to come up with solutions. And so it is a very taxing proposition for physicians who are practicing. And so they don't have the time nor the energy to be able to push this through to the rest of the world. And so we thought we'll make it slightly easier so that we can propagate those ideas further.
On the line with us is Dr. Uli Chettipally. Dr. Chettipally is the co-founder of IGS, the Innovators Global Summit, a 2-day event coming up in San Francisco that will shed light on the work of physician innovators who are doing their part to affect change in healthcare. While physicians are considered the scientific leaders in healthcare, they are not always recognized for their efforts pushing for change and improvement. And yet, as Dr. Chettipally just alluded to, many physician innovators are doing some amazing things in different areas all over the world. The very first Innovator MD Global Summit 2020 will be held January 11th and January 12th, 2020 at UCSF Mission Bay in San Francisco. If you've never been to San Francisco, UCSF Mission Bay is located very close to the waterfront near the Embarcadero. It's a beautiful location, lots of shops, lots of restaurants. Innovator MD Global Summit 2020 will showcase the work of physician innovators and hopefully inspire others to learn and ignite innovation in healthcare. To register for the Innovator Global Summit 2020, go to IGS igs2020.com, igs2020.com, igs2020.com. What are some of the objectives for the two-day summit?
Well, we want to bring in topics that are interesting to physicians, and physicians always want to know more about it, but they didn't have the time to actually explore that. So, for example, artificial intelligence is an interesting topic because they know that, this technology will change healthcare and how their work going to be affected by this change. They want to know how entrepreneurship works because they see a lot of entrepreneurs entering healthcare space, but the physicians are not privy to be a part of that. How do we get them ready to get into entrepreneurship? How can they become chief medical officers? We have workshops that teach physicians who are interested in that kind of work. How do healthcare startups work? How does angel investing? How do you create your own moonshot? Where you are, you have this overarching huge idea, and how do you make it happen? How does working in the current healthcare system affect your wellness? How can you prevent physician burnout? How is social media helping or hurting physicians? How can you master that? So there's a full workshop by a physician who has done that, been there, done that, and she will share her learnings and what physicians need to know. So there are several interesting topics that are not usually covered in most healthcare conferences. So this is out-of-the-box thinking, out-of-the-box learning, for physicians. So we have created a very interesting, entertaining curriculum. And physicians, when they come to this, they also get CME credit, continuing medical education credit, which means that this counts as part of their, lifelong learning. And maybe they will have some funding from their institutions to be able to afford and come to this conference. So there's a lot of interesting things, and it's a very new kind of a conference. It's not your regular boring medical conference.
The inaugural Innovator MD Global Summit 2020 will be held January 11th and January 12th at UCSF Mission Bay in San Francisco. To register for the Innovator MD Global Summit, to learn more about the venue, to learn more about the speakers and the various programs and curriculum that will be held that weekend, go to igs2020.com, 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 as well as on Facebook and on Twitter. Dr. Uli Chettipally is the co-founder of IGS, the Innovators Global Summit. He's on the line with us right now. You mentioned the several objectives that you hope to accomplish, or at least to bring light to during the upcoming summit, Dr. Chettipally. One objective that caught my eye, as you just alluded to, is strategies to help decrease burnout among physicians. It is my understanding that there is a particular high percentage of burnout among doctors, nurses, and nurse practitioners who work in trauma centers, emergency rooms, infirmaries, places, settings, medical settings where they deal with not just high stress, but the sheer number of fatalities that doctors, nurses, and nurse practitioners encounter every day in those settings. Is that an accurate understanding, or am I off base?
That's very accurate. In fact, more than 50% of physicians report burnout symptoms, which means that's a scary number in the sense that there's a 1 in 2 chance that your physician is burnt out. And so if you can imagine, healthcare is a, giving profession, right? You're giving your time, you're giving your expertise, you're giving, you're listening to all the worries that patients have. And so, in a way, it will take a toll on your psyche when you are exposed to so many miserable things that are happening in this world, right? and you are face-to-face dealing with these, trying to solve those, trying to help these patients. And then on top of that, you put, the workload. The workload keeps increasing. Physicians are having less and less time with each patient, and so they are in a hurry to accomplish this huge challenge in front of them. And then, because they're spending so much time in patient care, you take away a lot of their social interaction with their families or friends and, leisurely activities. It's hard to find a physician who is actually spending time doing these activities that might help them rejuvenate or recharge their batteries. And that's a perfect storm situation for physicians to get burnt out. One of the things that we suggest is that diversifying your interests, diversifying your income streams, diversifying your intellectual pursuits so that you're not constantly doing the same thing over and over and over again, which can lead to burnout. And so we have a workshop by a physician who runs a group that advocates for diversified interests and diversified incomes, which will help relieve the stress and maybe even help physicians achieve their life mission, which is being helpful to the community or building a legacy or even finding their niche area where they can thrive. So there are some interesting workshops that we have planned for these activities and topics.
The inaugural Innovator MD Global Summit will be held January 11th, January 12th, 2020 at UCSF Mission Bay in San Francisco. To register for the summit, to learn more about the venue, the speakers, the various programs and curriculums that will be held that weekend, go to igs2020.com, igs2020.com. Dr. Uli Chettipally is the co-founder of IGS, the Innovator Global Summit, and he's on the phone with us. I have to, forgive me for asking this. We mentioned in our open that you are a recently retired emergency physician. Was burnout a factor in your decision? Did you ever encounter a burnout in your career as an emergency physician?
I was close to that, I would say, but I was fortunate enough to be with a company that takes it seriously. And I was aware of this situation in my life, and so I made sure that I had strategies to deal with it and, in fact, to prevent it. One of the ways that I think about this thing is that, when you serve in a particular role for a long period of time, that does lead to burnout. Mm-hmm. So I was fortunate enough in my career to be able to do other things other than just, patient care. For example, I was in administration. I was in quality control. I was in research. In these other areas, help you decrease the burden on your brain from pure patient care all the time. Mm-hmm. And retiring early was another plan that I had it, maybe 15 years ago, where I thought, maybe if I retire early, then I can do other things. And this is part of that plan, which is doing other things. And I'm very passionate about this topic where physicians, these are the smartest people in the community, right? We don't want to burn them out. We don't want to use them so much that it becomes an adverse effect on their own lives. We've seen suicides, we've seen divorces, we have seen drug abuse, and a lot of bad things happen to physicians in their lives. And so we want to take a preventive step. We want to be proactive in getting them these resources, this learning, these kinds of other activities where they can not only make their life better, but also they can contribute to the community in a much bigger way. When you're seeing a patient, you are making a difference in that patient's life one patient at a time. But when you go to innovation, when you're innovating, you are affecting a large population, right? And let's say you invent something for the diabetics or for asthmatics or so your invention, your work will affect many, many, many lives. And so that's the kind of satisfaction I get, from my work in innovation. And I want every physician to have that opportunity to enjoy that satisfaction.
To learn more about the upcoming Innovator MD Global Summit that will be held January 11th, January 12th in San Francisco, to learn more about the summit, to register for the summit, to learn more about the venue, the speakers, and the various programs that will be held that week, and go to igs2020.com, igs2020.com. Okay, Dr. Chettipally, we're going to shift gears a little bit. The name of the program is TV Confidential. Do you have a favorite TV medical drama that you watched when you were young? Do you have a favorite medical TV character?
Well, I should say that as an ER doctor and training as an ER doctor, I was fascinated with the show ER. Mm-hmm. And of course, George Clooney was the guy. That's how a cool doctor functions, right? Mm-hmm. So I was more fascinated about George Clooney more than this actual show, because the show itself, we live the show every day.
Sure.
It was not that fascinating, but the characters were interesting. So I'm a fan of George Clooney, I should say.
I tried to watch ER, and even though when I did, I was sucked in by the characters, as you just said. But to me, I can never watch it week in to week out because it was very realistic, and they would do close-ups of the blood and this and that. And look, for someone like you see it every day. You're just immune to it. It's like it's part of your thing. But for someone like me, that was a little too much reality to grasp on television.
That's true. Even for people like me who work in ER, that is too much, because obviously, you don't want to be living your work, while you're relaxing at home, mm-hmm. right? You don't want to be going through those sort of same emotions and same stresses that that happen at work. You don't want to. You've had enough of it, so it's not a great way to entertain yourself. So it does have the same effect on us also.
Yeah, which goes back to burnout, in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the very first IGS Summit. I imagine there is a second already in the works. Do you see this as a yearly event, or are you just focusing on the 2-day event coming up in January?
Yes, this is going to be an annual event, and we tied this event with a bigger conference that happens in San Francisco. It's called the J.P. Morgan Conference. Mm-hmm. And J.P. Morgan, is the investment conference. Mm-hmm. So when that happens, there are 20,000, 30,000 people that come to the city, and there's a lot of activities happening. But I don't see much activity on the physician side. So we thought, okay, physicians need to also be a part of this investment piece. And you're not only, when I talk about investment, it's not just financial investment, it is also your own professional and personal investment into your own life, into your own career. How do you invest learning things and doing new things? And so that's part of the plan, is to have this as an annual conference and do it every year around the same time, and grow it and make it bigger. So you will see some interesting physicians and doing some interesting things.
To register for the Innovator Global Summit in San Francisco, to learn more about the venue, the speakers, and the various programs that will be held the weekend of January 11th and January 12th at UCSF Mission Bay in San Francisco, go to igs2020.com, igs2020.com. You can also register for the summit at Eventbrite.com, useventer.com, as well as Facebook and on Twitter. And we will post the information on our website, televisionconfidential.com, as well as in our newsletter and our social media platforms. Dr. Chettipally, this has been a fascinating conversation, a change of pace for our program, but a very important topic. Thank you so much for spending part of your day on TV Confidential.
Ed, thank you very much for having me on your show, and I feel that it's a privilege to be able to talk with your audience, and I welcome any questions. You will have the website, and you can always contact me through the website or on LinkedIn. Either way, I'm happy to answer any questions.
That website, once again, igs2020.com, igs2020.com, igs2020.com. We'll pay tribute to Carol Spinney of Sesame Street next on TV Confidential.
If you haven't been listening to TV Confidential, this is who you're missing.
Jen Asner,
Connie Stevens, Dawn Wells,
Eric Braden,
Tony Camille,
Anson Williams, Don Most, Roy Finnis, Peter Marshall,
Sherry Alberoni,
George Slaughter, Dan Castellaneta, Taylor Hicks, Lindsay Wagner,
Loretta Swit,
And many, many more of your favorite celebrities and people behind the scenes in the world of television. That's TV Confidential. Every week on this station.
And every day online at televisionconfidential.com.
Accredited by Guinness World Records, welcome to Archival Television Audio Incorporated, a peerless TV soundtrack archive preserving the audio from television's first 3 decades, the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the golden and silver age of television.
For more information, go to atvaudio.com.
Become a TV Confidential confidant and receive unlimited access to the last 5 years of TV Confidential, plus other members-only content. For more information, go to televisionconfidential.com/join.
We're Biffle and Schuster. How do you do? That's right, folks. We're Biffle and Schuster. We want to tell you about this amazing misadventures of Biffle and Schuster. It's a DVD from Kino Lover, and you're going to love it.
We're Biffle and Schuster. It's terrific.
Yeah, you know what Joe Dante says about them?
What did he say?
He says, forehead slapping funny. What impresses is the dogged authenticity to the era, which makes it all the more hilarious.
Absolutely. Accent on the high.
We're
Biffle and Schuster. As you can see, no one else can make that statement louder than we.
They say we're soporific, and
it's probably we. Because we're Biffle and Schuster. Oh, we're Biffle and Schuster. No, we're Biffle and Schuster.
B-I-F-F-Biffle, Biffle. S-H-W-S to Schuster.
Biffle and Schuster. Need we say more?
Available wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Kino Lorber.
All right, you loafers, get back to work. What am I paying you for? Why is he yelling at his shoes?
Hi, this is Constance Towers, and welcome to TV Confidential.
Alexa users, you can now listen to TV Confidential on your smart speaker by just saying, Alexa, play TV Confidential. Enabling our Alexa skill is easy. To find out how, go to televisionconfidential.com/Alexa.
This portion of TV Confidential is sponsored by Uber. Enter the promo code TV Confidential, all one word, when you download the app at get.uber.com/go/TV Confidential, and you'll receive a free first ride up to $20.